President Biden, since October 7th, our community has lost faith in your ability to represent our democratic and moral values on the international stage. And we have now lost faith in that same ability domestically. Although we do not speak on behalf of all Arab Americans or Muslim Americans, I can tell you that I am expressing the overwhelming majority opinion that is held by these minority members. And although I am not Palestinian, most Arab Americans and American Muslims closely identify with and intimately feel for our Palestinian American brothers and sisters. As it stands, for purposes of this message, it would be safe to assume that we are all Palestinians. Mr. President, we are disillusioned and angry. We no longer feel comfortable identifying with either political party, especially when both parties and the administration can clearly care less about our community's opinions, concerns, fears, and aspirations. Not to mention that both parties are beholden to foreign special interests that fly in the face of allegiance to our Constitution and our democratic system. And your administration, unfortunately, is not an exception. That's for another day. As our fellow Israeli-American dual citizens are killing or helping to kill Palestinian women and children by the thousands in Palestine, Palestinian Americans are being victimized in Palestine. They didn't get cruise ships. They were there for weeks. There's conflicting information from the State Department as to where to go and where to get picked up and what to do. They're left for dead, compared to what your State Department did for American Israelis in Israel. They suffered the wrath of the suffocating blockade of all of life's basic necessities, including a number of whom that were killed and injured by our bombs. And on the home front, here in the United States, Palestinian children are being stabbed repeatedly and murdered in Chicago because that American child's parents are of Palestinian descent. And just 2 days ago, 3 20-year-old Palestinian Americans were shot in cold blood. It appears that they were shot because they appeared to be Palestinians. They were wearing the traditional scarf, a kufiya. We are yet to hear from you on this. Inside our borders and outside, Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, and Muslim Americans are being harassed, intimidated, discriminated against, beaten, and killed by our fellow Americans. In our grade schools and high schools, Arab and Muslim children are harassed, intimidated, and suspended because they are of Arab or Muslim descent, or they identify with the Palestinian struggle for self-determination. Not to mention the harassment and discrimination on our college campuses, and the stifling of debate and opinion led by special foreign interests. Arab Americans feel afraid to voice their opinions while their pro-Israeli classmates are protected by one-sided administrative rules, laws, and the sword of anti-Semitism. Whenever our students voice their opinions, they are called traitors or terrorist sympathizers. Democracy dies behind closed doors. These are our campuses. This is the place to have debates, good debates, honest debates. We're not looking for and don't want to hear words of condemnation. We need action. Unless our government takes serious and concrete steps to allow all of its citizens to feel that they're equally relevant, by prosecuting physical attacks, attempted murders, and murders as hate crimes, by providing protection to our religious sites and schools, and by unequivocally addressing our nation by delivering a clear message that any physical assault, murder, or attack on our community, or attacks on free speech anywhere, including during lawful protests, is un-American, illegal, and will be prosecuted by the federal authorities under a zero-tolerance policy. Unless these things happen, we will resign ourselves to the fact that our country is not willing to stand up and protect its minority population. And we will then have to take steps by any and all means necessary to protect ourselves. Our community is still suffering from the discrimination, harassment, violence, and backlash from guilt by association following 9/11, October 7th, and now the genocide of innocent Palestinian civilians, women and children. Arab Americans are simply trying to do their jobs on food trucks in New York, surviving and struggling. Our community is being targeted, terminated, harassed, and dehumanized in the workplace. We have had enough. Either our federal government considers our community equal citizens, or it does not. As of this moment, we feel disenfranchised and dehumanized. And fear by people that do not share your political opinion is more dangerous than being able to freely express a counterpoint. Isn't that what our country was founded upon? Will you step up? Will you stand up? Will you speak loudly? Or is that a political question for you? We will not forget, and neither will history.